I just watched my 75-year-old mother get yelled at by a TSA agent because she could not take her shoes off fast enough. She was so flustered, she nearly left her purse on the belt. It breaks my heart every time she flies alone. Is there really nothing we can do to protect them from this absolute circus?
Actually, you do not have to leave her alone at all. There is a specific, federally protected loophole that airlines absolutely despise talking about because it costs them manpower and clogs up the security lines. But in 2026, it is your legal right to use it.
Wait, what loophole? You mean like buying a refundable ticket just to get through security?
No, never do that. That can actually get you banned from the airline under their deceptive practices clauses. I am talking about the non-traveler gate pass. Most people think that since 2001, no one without a boarding pass can get past security. That is entirely false. Airlines have the authority, printed in their contract of carriage, to issue a gate pass to companions of passengers who need assistance navigating the terminal.
But do not you need a wheelchair for that? My mother walks perfectly fine. She just gets incredibly confused by the terminal changes and the overwhelming noise.
That is exactly the secret. You do not need a physical disability. Cognitive overload, severe anxiety, or simply needing help reading the gate screens qualifies. But you cannot just casually ask for it. Gate agents are trained to brush you off if you sound unsure. You must walk to the physical check-in counter, hand them your valid government ID, and state exactly this phrase: I am requesting a gate pass to escort my mother to her departure gate due to navigation assistance needs. The phrase navigation assistance needs is the exact internal trigger word they cannot legally deny without risking a DOT discrimination complaint.
Wow, I had no idea I could just walk her right to her seat. But what if I am not in the same city as her? What if she is flying back to me and she is entirely alone at her departure airport?
That is when you deploy the most powerful four-letter code in the aviation industry. A code that forces the airline to act as her personal bodyguard. Meet and Assist, MAAS. This is a special service request code you can have permanently added to her passenger profile when you book the ticket. Do not confuse this with wheelchair assistance.
How is it different? I thought wheelchair assist was the highest level of help you could get.
Wheelchair assistance is subcontracted out to third-party companies. They are notoriously short-staffed, which is why thousands of seniors are left stranded at baggage claim every year. The MAAS code is different. It triggers a mandatory system alert directly in the airline's own software. It forces the airline to provide a dedicated representative to physically walk with the traveler, guide them through security, and take them directly to the gate. It is designed for cognitively challenged or navigation-sensitive travelers. Because it is tied to federal accessibility laws, airlines monitor MAAS requests heavily to avoid massive fines.
So they actually have to walk with her the whole way? That is a lifesaver. But what happens when she is actually on the plane and the crew treats her like just another annoying passenger, taking too long to stow her bag?
That brings us to a discreet, silent signal. If she wears this one specific item, flight attendants and TSA agents are strictly trained in 2026 to completely change their behavior toward her. It is called the Hidden Disability Sunflower Lanyard. It is a brilliant, internationally recognized tool that originated in the UK, but is now fully operational in almost all major U.S. airports in 2026.
A sunflower lanyard? I have never seen that. Does it mean you get to skip lines or something?
It is not exactly a VIP pass, but for invisible disabilities like travel anxiety, early-stage memory issues, or hearing impairment, it is a game changer. When TSA agents or flight attendants see it, their standard operating procedures dictate they must slow down, communicate more clearly, and avoid pressuring or rushing the passenger. And yes, in many airports, wearing it grants access to fast-track security lanes or dedicated quiet rooms to escape the terminal chaos. You can usually pick them up for free at the main airport information desks.
That is amazing! A simple lanyard that changes everything. But here is my biggest nightmare. What if her flight gets canceled while she is waiting at the gate? She does not know how to use those airline apps to rebook.
This right here is where airlines prey on older travelers. When a flight cancels, the airline's automated algorithm immediately sorts passengers. If she is not a top-tier elite frequent flyer, the system will silently bump her to the bottom of the standby list for the next flight. She will be left waiting overnight, sleeping on a bench. But you can stop the algorithm dead in its tracks. Gate agents have the absolute discretion to use what is internally known as the Vulnerable Passenger Protocol.
Okay, how do I make them use it? Because usually they just scream, "Go to the app," or "Call the 1-800 number."
Exactly. You have to force an override. You or she must go to the agent and state this perfectly. My flight was canceled, and due to my age and medical requirements, I qualify as a vulnerable passenger under your regular operations policy. I need you to manually override the rebooking algorithm and secure my accommodation immediately. Listen to the specific words there. Vulnerable passenger and medical requirements instantly spike the airline's perceived liability. Corporate policy mandates they mitigate liability above all else. This forces the agent to bypass the automated system, manually push her onto the next flight, and often unlocks hotel vouchers that are supposedly unavailable.
That is incredible. They are so scared of lawsuits that they actually do their jobs. But wait, what if they lose her checked bags? Seniors often pack essential medications, and airlines seem to lose bags constantly nowadays.
Bag drops are a massive point of failure. But there is a little-known DOT regulation updated for 2026 regarding medical baggage that airlines consistently lie to older adults about. Airlines will try to charge you $50 or more to check a bag, but under federal rules, any bag that contains strictly medical equipment, such as a CPAP machine, mobility aids, or bulk prescription medications, must fly absolutely free of charge.
Sure, but I bet they make you jump through hoops to prove it. My dad has a CPAP, but he usually just shoves it in his regular carry-on.
Never shove it in the regular carry-on. That limits your packing space. Medical equipment does not count toward your carry-on allowance either. If you bring a dedicated bag just for medical supplies, it flies free, whether checked or carried on. Just clearly declare it at the counter as a dedicated medical supply bag.
Okay, but what if they still lose her regular checked suitcase, the one with her clothes? Getting an airline to reimburse you takes months of fighting.
Not if you know the exact script to use at the baggage office. This is a secret that saves thousands of dollars. When a bag does not arrive, airlines will hand you a printed pamphlet and tell you to file a claim online for incidental expenses. They hope you buy a cheap toothbrush and go away. But the DOT legally requires airlines to compensate passengers for reasonable, verifiable expenses while their bag is delayed, up to $3,800.
$3,800? So she can just go buy a whole new wardrobe?
It must be reasonable. If she is missing her winter coat in Chicago, she can buy a high-quality coat. The trick is to demand the authorization in writing before leaving the airport. Say, under DOT guidelines for delayed baggage, I require written authorization for immediate essential purchases, including clothing and toiletries, up to the federal limit. Do not leave until they give you a reference number and a daily budget allowance.
Okay, always get it in writing. But here's the thing that really stresses my dad out. What happens when the airline overbooks the flight? They always seem to target the older folks who do not speak up to bump them off.
You have hit on one of the most predatory practices in aviation: involuntary denied boarding. And yes, they look for people who seem compliant. When a flight is oversold, the gate agent will announce they need volunteers. If nobody volunteers, they start forcing people off. If your parent is selected, the agent will try to hand them a rebooking slip and maybe a $500 flight voucher.
Do not accept the voucher. I know that much. Vouchers expire and have blockout dates.
Exactly. Never accept a voucher. Federal law clearly dictates that if you are involuntarily bumped and the airline delays you by more than 2 hours, they owe you 400% of your one-way fare in cold hard cash, up to $1,550. Hand the voucher back and say, "I politely decline this voucher. Under federal law, I am electing to receive a check for involuntary denied boarding compensation before I leave this counter."
Wow, a check right there at the gate? That is powerful. I have one last question, though. My parents physically struggle with the tiny economy seats now. Is there any trick to getting them more legroom without paying a fortune?
Yes, there is one highly effective method to secure those premium exit row seats or bulkhead seats for free. But it requires timing. Airlines block off the front row of economy, the bulkhead, for disabled passengers and families with infants. They hold these seats hostage until the absolute last moment.
So, when do they release them to normal passengers?
Exactly 24 hours before the flight, during online check-in or physically at the gate. 1 hour before departure. If your parent has mobility issues but did not officially request wheelchair assistance, go to the gate agent immediately upon arrival. Say, "Due to severe joint stiffness, my mother requires a seat with easier access. Can you please check if the blocked bulkhead seating has been released yet?" By mentioning joint stiffness, you hint at an accessibility need, making the agent much more likely to assign that premium block seat for zero extra cost.